Hey guys, I'm Misty Buck, president of Missing, and we are here for another Marketing Monday. And it is actually Thanksgiving week, which is kind of crazy, right? Like, how do we get that far into the year this fast? But here we are. We were sort of talking off camera. I don't know about you guys, but we thought, oh, both of us, I had the same thought. Oh, it'll kind of be like an easy week. And it sort of has already started out a little hectic. So, but that's all right. That's all right. We're here. We're ready. And I want to welcome our guest today, Jonathan Alfonso. He is a real estate attorney with the Title Answers, which is your law firm, right?
Yep. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Short week.
Short week. I know we're just going to cram everything into 3 days, right? Like maybe that's why it's a little hectic.
Yeah. And try to prep our families for the festivities. So in the middle of this.
Yeah. Well, we're doing, I know I have like my list of to-dos. It makes my husband crazy, but it makes me feel better. Anyways. All right. So that's not why we're here to talk about Thanksgiving. We're here to talk about marketing. So Jonathan, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your firm, and then we're going to talk about how you have built your firm and how you continue to do so.
So I'm Jonathan Alfonso. I'm a real estate attorney. I own a law firm called Title Answers. I also, in the last 18 months, opened a real estate brokerage named Portal Real Estate. And it's all part of our underlying mission, which is to help, individuals buying and selling real estate. So it's always been, our mission has always been like, how can we add value to that? And that's basically what we do every day, try to guide people through, probably one of the most expensive transactions they'll ever do in their life.
Yeah. And stressful too, right? So you want to talk about hectic and unpredictability. I think real estate can really be stressful for the people buying or selling the property.
So the interesting thing is, right, we live in a society where everything has become like so, on demand, so quick. Buying and selling a home, even though we have companies such as Zillow that try to make that process a lot easier. What's happened is they make the process of like viewing homes easier, but you're still going to go through all your traditional pain points.
Right.
And what we're constantly trying to do is and our job, right? I see it as our job. Our mission is how to make it as easy as possible for a homeowner, not given the fact that, they're still going to have to do a lot of work,
Right.
to sell their home.
It is a lot of work. Even if you have the best team on the planet, you still have a lot of work to do.
And we call it the jack in the box, right? No matter what, no matter how easy or how simple somebody thinks it's going to be when they come to me, like I always say, there's always a variable. There's just way too many people involved in a transaction. Your typical transaction is going to have your buyer, seller, you're going to have a lender, an appraiser, an inspector, you're going to have family members, you're going to have title agent. You have all these individuals, and they're all going to communicate and they're all going to interact at some point. And the reality is the chances that something can happen is very high.
Yeah. Well, that sure keeps you busy.
I'm sure it does. it keeps me running around, but you know what? Like I tell everybody, I'm kind of, I enjoy it. I enjoy working on that all day long. And more than anything, I enjoy helping people get to the finish line. That to me is, watching people move into their home, sell their home, move on with their life. I'm helping a couple right now. They're moving to Houston to be closer to their daughter and their grandkids. Like I always tell them is, I never really talk about the numbers. I always say, what's your story? How does the story end? I think earlier we were talking about you wrote a book and everything you've done with that, right?
Right.
So you're trying to change people's lives. That's how I look at it. The money follows. The
Exactly.
money will always be there.
That's true.
It's, can you solve people's problems? And, that's what we try to focus on.
Yeah. So I think that's actually a good segue into your marketing, because you guys do a really great job of that, of sharing content that solves people's problems, right? So let's kind of go through your journey, because you kind of had this aha moment, if I'm understanding correctly, that earlier in your business, like, geez, if I really want to be successful, I have to be proactive in my marketing versus just relying only on word of mouth referrals. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And, the interesting thing is I can thank my wife for this, because we were having a conversation one day, and it was a friend of ours. Not close friend, but they I forgot if they bought or sold the home. They didn't use me. And my wife was like, oh my God, how could they not use you? And deep down inside, I was like, this is my fault. Like I don't put myself out there enough. And what ends up happening is, like, obviously I'm trained as an attorney, right? And you start with that training, and all that training is like, learn as much about the law, become very, knowledgeable in it. And then, people will gravitate towards you, and then people will send you business. And that might have worked like 40, 50 years ago when there was a lot less competition. But now there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot going on. And up until like 2016, I used to work with like several big clients, and that's all I had. But then that started to kind of, the market started to shift, and I needed to go out there. And, you know, I was literally one of those people in my office of like, oh, you know, the phone's going to ring, and, you know, you just go and visit certain clients every so often and business will come.
Right.
And it wasn't producing. It wasn't producing. And I just woke up one day and I said, you know, I got to revamp it. And I went very heavy at that time on Instagram. And I just started posting on Instagram. I started doing little things like back in 2016, it wasn't common for people to post a closing photo.
Right.
We started posting those. We started posting like, this is problems that we solved. And I started doing little short form videos where I would say something that happened. And then that turned into longer form content. And what I started to realize was people were reaching out. So it went from people sending me an email, Mr. Alfonso, will you have an appointment with me, to a DM like, yo, man, that just happened to me. Help me out.
So really relating to your audience through this content on Instagram.
Yeah. And messaging me directly. And, you know, and it really started to shift. And we grew our Title Answers Instagram account, has 5,500 followers, which let's face it, Instagram, it's pictures, it's more creative content, right? Like nice pictures, maybe, you know, something that like is nice on the eye, whatever. We're attorneys talking about closings.
Yeah, that's very hard in that kind of industry, right? To get an audience, to get engagement. So that's amazing.
Yeah. So we kind of started there, and yeah. And so, you know, over time I've just, you know, learned little by little. And now I think what I was discussing with you is we've started to gravitate towards YouTube.
Right.
And now what we're doing is we've realized that we can do, YouTube is an interesting platform, right? And I know you're very well versed in it. You know, for what we do, we try to keep the videos between 8 and 12 minutes.
Which is actually kind of long. I wanted to ask you about that. So how did you find that marker for you? That we call long form content, right? So like, how did you figure out that's what worked for you?
I don't know where I read it. I don't know where I got it, but somewhere I read something that said 10 minutes is long enough that people will be like, oh, I'll watch that if the topic interests them, but not long enough where they'll click on the video and be like, 45 minutes. Yeah, I don't want to learn about a contract. So 10 minutes just kind of did it. And then the wonderful thing about YouTube is YouTube has YouTube Studio. So it shows you how your videos are performing. It shows you if people are dropping off. And if you start to, you know, talk to individuals such as yourself and they start to guide you through the process, you know, it's not just like you turn on a camera and you talk. If you structure it, if you do a hook at the beginning, explain what you're going to get into, you kind of create some points and you make it interesting, you know, people gravitate towards it.
Right.
So.
Right. That's awesome. So what have been some of your most popular videos to date?
So on Instagram or on YouTube?
Let's do both.
All right.
Because they're different mediums.
You know, some of my most, here's the interesting thing, right? Some of my most popular videos, or the ones that'll get shared the most, are, if it's on Instagram, it's either a rant where I'm very honest,
right?
Or, you know, kind of bringing some humor. I think, you know, the most important thing that I've learned is to be myself, right? And this is another conversation we were just having, but going back to that example, right? I wasn't putting myself out there enough in 2017 to generate business, right? And that was my fault. You know, it's not my fault if I'm not at the top of mind of my consumers, right? I'm sorry, it's not their fault, it's my fault.
Right.
You know, and I realized that, you know what, if I have to be in front of their face all the time, I'm going to do that.
Right.
And, you know, it just is what it is, because at the end of the day, I want to help a bunch of people, but also the livelihood of myself and my team depends on me being out there. So I've noticed that just being authentic, which is a double-edged sword, right? I'll sometimes get home and my wife will be like, I can't believe you said that.
Oh God.
And I'll be like, you know what? I am who I am, and certain people are going to gravitate towards it. You know, I think, I'm sure Seth Godin, you're like familiar. Is it Godin or Godin?
Godin, yeah.
Godin. Yeah, Seth Godin. I saw him speak at a conference once, and he said something about, you know, talking about marketing. And he was like, everybody's trying to be everything to everyone. And he's like, you need to figure out who your someone is and just market to those someones.
Right.
And I've realized that, you know, certain people are going to gravitate towards me and I have more than enough business with that. I don't need to, you know,
Right.
tame myself or be who I'm not
Yeah.
just because I think it's going to bring in business.
I love that you're talking about this right now. So this idea of being authentic and authenticity, because I think people, they do get scared to put themselves out there. They do get scared to go out on video. They do just, there's all these mindset things that go on. But you're absolutely right that, you know, and we say this pretty much every single show, but people do business with people that they like, right? So that's the first part of it. But on the other side of that, that means that you're not for everybody. And that's cool because you can't service everybody. So, right. And you probably want to work with people that you like as well. Like that's part of being a business, right?
When I went on my own, I set 2 rules in my business plan. And the 2 rules were, I was only going to do real estate, right? This was back in 2012 where attorneys would take anything that would come in through the door. And I worked for somebody who did that. You know, they call it door law. And the second rule was I was only going to work on matters that I wanted to work on and people I wanted to work with. And when I showed people my business plan, they were like, that's a really dumb idea. That's not going to work. And here we are 10 years later. You know, for me, it's
see people.
and it's nerve-wracking. And I think, you know, there's a lot of conversations we could have, but you know, that goes to another rule that I have is that if a matter comes in and I'm not like absolutely yes, it's a no. You know, because if you don't want to work on it, it's going to show in your work. It's going to show in when you speak to your clients, and it carries through. So you need to be, you know, to an extent passionate about what you do. I mean, sometimes there is going to be, you know, the mundane work, but you have to enjoy what you do. And if you don't enjoy that, and it goes both ways, because the people coming to you are going to feel it. So I've
right.
kind of found that niche, and honestly, I love it.
Yeah. I love that you're saying this again, because I think like the energy is so important that you share with your client and even your employees, and you're kind of setting that tone, right? And you're being able to say like, look, I can absolutely work with you. And you're sort of doing them even a better service by turning them down sometimes, right? By saying like, I can't help you, but it's not because I'm being a jerk about it. It's just because like, this isn't the right match. There's a better fit for you somewhere, or someone who's going to be able to better service you. And to me, I think that is a piece of marketing too, is just having that reputation of, right? Just like really like, I'm going to help you to the best of my ability. And if I can't, I'm going to be honest about that.
You know, and it just boils down to what I'm saying, and, you know, what you will preach to everyone, which is like, if you enjoy the work, the money will follow, right? I mean, and I firmly believe that. Do we have revenue targets? Do we have goals? Do we have all of that? Yes. But at the end of the day, it all flows through. It's something as simple, even as like, I remember like a while ago, we had like this one clerk that we had for a bit. He was a young kid. He wasn't, I get it. You know, you're working at a law firm, and he would just answer the phone. And I was like, you sound like you're at a funeral home. and I was like, that carries through.
Right.
That's the first impression somebody had of Title Answers. Hello.
Right.
Law firm.
But that's so important.
So
that's so important.
And you know, and I think it carries through to the videos. And so, you know, going back to the YouTube, you know, part of the reason I find this, you know, so helpful, why I find YouTube like video, wherever you can put the video platform. At the end of the day, put video wherever you think your audience is, right? The reason I find that so valuable is people get to hear me talk for 10 minutes. And like about 2 months ago, I had a seller reach out to me through the internet. He came in through one of our things, but he ended up watching all my YouTube videos. And older gentleman, trust, like he was a representative of a family trust, 5 individuals, like we're from different backgrounds. It was a condo. I don't typically do condos. And he's like, hey, will you help us list our condo? And I said, sure, whatever. And then, you know, I got to know him throughout, and he's like, you know what I love about you? He's like, I watch those YouTube videos. And I was like, I like that guy. But he's like, most of the time you meet those people in real life, he's like, you're the same exact person.
Yeah.
And you know, that's really what got my YouTube thing going. I was like, I need to do more of this because I'm building relationships with people at scale. Like I'm probably nowhere to be found marketing. YouTube is doing it for me. Like this, in the past week, I've gained 25 followers.
Like subscribers on YouTube?
Subscribers on YouTube.
Wow.
Which, you know, those are harder to get.
Those are extremely hard to get.
And it's just the videos doing their thing because Google is pushing them out there, you know, into the.
But it's your content too, and it's the way you carry yourself, because I've seen, you know, videos before where it doesn't come off as authentic, right? And the energy isn't there, and then they sort of fall flat, right? So I love that you're so authentic to who you are, like as an individual person. Like even if I ran into you at a bar, like you'd be the same Jonathan as you are sitting next to me right now. In other words, well, maybe not the same, but pretty close. So I'm just kidding, but you get what I'm saying. Like that's so important.
No, I mean, listen, we all do, give probably 90% of who we are on social and whatnot, because you have to hold some of it back. But the way I have, so many people under me that I'm training, that I'm helping them with their social, my realtors and whatnot. And, they're like, oh, I'm afraid to get on camera. I'm like, if they're not going to like you, do the video. At least you got that out of the way from the outset. Why spend 4 hours with them before they realize it? And then the other thing is, I see them sometimes trying to be someone they're not. And I'm like, for me personally, I don't know about you, I have a hard enough time navigating my life, let alone being somebody else.
Right.
And then having to navigate two personas, one of who I am to the world, because I think that's who they want me to be. Like, I find that overwhelming. Just be yourself.
Exhausting. No, it's exhausting, and it doesn't really help you anywhere. It doesn't help you be authentic. It doesn't help you attract. We're talking about energy. It doesn't help you energetically attract the right kind of clients that you want to work with anyway, because you're not being authentic. Like there's so many pieces to that. So I want to share something that we were talking a little bit off a camera when you were kind of hesitant at first to do your videos, and you got some advice, and I thought it was brilliant. Do you mind sharing that? In case for the people out there who are hesitant to do these videos, I know a lot of you are.
What was it that we were just
so that someone had told you that if you remember now, go ahead.
Wait, someone had told me that
if you were gonna walk into a room, right?
If you're gonna walk into a room,
you have to sell yourself anyway.
Yeah. That goes to
brilliant.
That goes to the premise, right? People are afraid to get on camera or on video because it's like, I look good, my hair doesn't look good. I'm a perfect example. I'm not going to be gracing the cover of GQ with my abs out any day, but people want to know what I have to offer, my expertise, and that's and that comes across in your video. So who cares what your hair looks like? I don't have any, and I get on video every day.
Which is an advantage, because when you have hair, it takes a lot more time to prepare it. I will tell you that. But
that is true. I can just walk in and press record.
Yeah, I'm just ready. For me, I'm like, oh, I gotta brush my hair.
No, it's true, and that definitely goes to it. I think no matter what, people are going to have to meet you, and they're going to have to interact with you at some point. So why not already have a bunch of introductory videos out there, or a bunch of content where they get to know you? And then the beautiful part about all of this is, right, one of the hardest things in professional services, right, in your business and my business, is we have all this expertise, we have all this intuition, we have all these things that we know, but how does somebody that just gets to know us, how can they know or get a feeling for, does Jonathan really know what he's doing? Can he actually help me? Well, if there's a library of YouTube content where they've heard you speak on a bunch of subjects, they already feel like they know you. And then, I've joined these like online communities for YouTubers and whatnot, which is where I get like a lot of tips. And in going through all of that, the recurring theme that has come up is people feel like they know me when they meet me.
Right.
And they'll even like, weird thing for me is I'll go out in public. So Title Answers, as you can see by the logo, is orange. Like the weird thing for me, it started happening like in 2019, is I'd be out at like real estate events and somebody would be like, you're the Title Answers guy. And I was like, whoa. I was like I watch your videos. And I was like, because those silent followers, right?
Right. But doesn't that feel good? So it kind of feels crazy when that happens. So someone will be like, oh, I've seen your show. And I'm like, sometimes I don't know. Sorry, but I don't know necessarily who the person is who's watching it, because again, they're not commenting, they're not liking, they're not interacting, but they're still watching, to your point, the silent followers, right? And so I think that that's so important that you bring that up, because if we're talking kind of along the theme of mindset, is people think, oh, nobody's watching my stuff. Who really wants to watch me? Or I put it out there and I'm not getting likes and I'm not getting comments. But what you find is, and tell me if you've had the same experience, is you put this stuff out there, and then people, they are watching it, because they'll just come up and tell you, oh yeah, you have that show, or you're on here, or you're that person, right?
It's the silent followers is a phenomenon that is, to me, it took me a while to kind of grasp it, but then I started to realize, wow, like just in terms of like people saying that at parties or whatnot, or like the funny one will be like sometimes I'll do something and then like people that I didn't know watch my content, but they're like my wife's friend, and they'll be like, they'll text my wife like, "What your husband did was funny," and it's like, "Damn, dude, can't you just throw me a like?" You know?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But
yeah.
you know, they like
Please.
they and by the way, like and subscribe on these videos, please.
Check them out.
But yeah, there's a lot of people that you believe it. And this I conform. I mean, I consume so much content that sometimes I forget where I get it from. But recently, I read they were saying that we have this bias that we think that going back to people are afraid to get on camera, that we think that what's going to end up happening is that people are not going to like us, but we're that's really like, you know, that's the negative voices in our head, because the reality is people like you more than you think, and people listen to you more than you think.
It's true.
So, you know,
it is true. And it's super hard to overcome that, though. And I think imposter syndrome is another thing that plays into it, thinking that, okay, if I put this out there, or people are going to find out that I'm not really as smart as they think I am, or I'm not really as well spoken as they think I am, or whatever goes on in your head. So, in other words, whatever that is for you, to work past it, because if the relationships that you build are invaluable.
Well, and here's you just touched on another point, right? Which is people are going to think that I'm not as smart as I am, or that I don't know as much. The reality is the majority of people that you're probably speaking to have no idea what you even do.
Exactly.
The hardest, I mean, I don't want to say it's the hardest thing, but one thing that I had to overcome is I realized when I started making videos, I felt this need to like provide earth-shattering content. Like I needed to help you figure out how to like cure an uncurable disease.
Right.
And the reality is some of my best performing videos, I go into the simplest of topics because most people don't know that topic. And then it goes to another thing, right? Like I'm in the business of trying to help anybody buying or selling a home, which is a very vast database.
Right.
But I kept trying to I was making content for like certified real estate professionals, which don't even want to watch my stuff anyways, because they already got enough content.
Right.
So when I started to make it simpler to appeal to the masses, I started to reach a lot more people. And I started to notice it because at least on the title side where we do real estate closings, the majority of our business comes from referrals from agents. We have like 35% of our business, whereas most agencies will depend on like 80% of their business will come from like real estate agents referring. We have a good like 35 to 40% that's direct. In other words, somebody is buying a home,
and they want you to be their representative. That's very unusual, because isn't it typical if you've had this experience of buying or renting or buying or selling a home before, your real estate agent will tell you, oh, this is who you can work with, this is your title company, this is your lot, this is your da, 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 and they sort of bring all that to you. It's like a whole spear, right? So that is amazing.
Yeah, no, and you know, for me, it's been, you know, it's like literally people will be like, no, he's my guy, and then it's, you know, and then I'll be talking to them. I saw that video you did, you know, and I wasn't gonna let that happen to me, and I knew you were gonna protect me. And I was like, and most of the time they're silent followers, so it's kind of crazy.
They're like, who? I don't even know who you are, and that can be a little surreal sometimes too, right? When someone's like, they're super connected with you in person, and you're like, but I haven't interacted with you yet online, and that's good. That's kind of funny sometimes.
Yeah, and I think this goes to, I think this goes to another mind shift that, you know, I think a lot of people, you know, at least I see it with the realtors and people under me that I'm trying to help, which is that like it's a different world. You know, it used to be like only the Coca-Colas of the world could have their name everywhere. Like I consider myself a nobody in the grand scheme of things, right? I'm just a guy trying to help people buy and sell homes, and I still see myself that way, but like I'm kind of a brand in a way, and I'm everywhere. And we're so the funniest thing happened. We were eating lunch the other day, my wife and I, and a silent follower bought me lunch.
Wow.
So like somebody,
I've never had that happen. Step it up, people. I'm just kidding.
everybody, you know where the headquarters are, 1 mile radius, just go to all the lunch spots until you run into Misty.
Yeah, right.
And my wife was like, who is that? And I'm like, I kind of knew who he was, and I was like, I had no idea. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh wow. I was like, you know, I was like, dude, like, thank you. Also, like whatever. Right. And it was just this thing. And then of course my wife was like, but you don't know him. I'm like, I really don't. I haven't talked to him, and it's, you know, but people start to see you, and you're this mini brand, and you have the power of a Coca-Cola, you know, to be everywhere, to be in your consumers' faces at a fraction of the cost. So like to me, it's, I hate to sound like Gary Vaynerchuk or anything
Right,
like that.
right,
'Cause
right.
he's so like, oh my God, you could own the
Yeah,
world.
that guy's out there.
But my point is, we all have the ability to do it. All they need to do is really sit with someone like you, come up with a plan, and just start doing it and start
Right.
posting. I think
they need to see with someone like you. I think that's the moral of the story here today. Forget me. You're killing it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I appreciate that. And I thank you for saying that. But I think every one of you out there could easily do it. I think the hardest thing is just making the time for it. You just literally, and you don't, and I think the problem is it becomes overwhelming because it's like, now it's become like, oh, you need to do social media, but then it's like, do I do TikTok, Facebook,
right.
YouTube, Pinterest, Etsy? Like what like there's a million options plus Discord, Clubhouse. Like you can do all these platforms. Like just find what platform, if you're starting out, that you think your customers or your followers or whoever you're trying to engage with are, and just start posting there. Make it a point to do, hey, I'm going to do one video a week. I guarantee you when you get that first call or you get that first piece of validation from somebody telling you, hey, I saw your content,
right,
it becomes addicting to keep trying to pump it out.
Yeah. Or someone will share something and be like, oh, this was like a really thoughtful thing. Like, so that's another way that, you get your name out there, you get that validation. So I love that you said that. So how do you come up with, we only have a couple minutes left here. So this is one of the questions that we're always trying to answer because it's a top question that people have. In addition to trying to find time, in addition to trying to find the right social network. So those are top two problems. A third problem is, okay, now I've done that. What do I actually post? So how do you come up with content ideas?
So right now we're trying to go to a way more structured, like monthly calendar where we have the social media holidays, where we have, I'm trying in January, my goal is to go to a structure where we're going to have like Title Tuesday, touring Thursdays where it'll be a property, and fast tip Friday.
I'll share a template with you if you want.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I would love it. So yeah, something like that. But the easiest point to start out with is, what's a question you get asked every day? Like just sit down for a minute and say, what do I get asked most frequently? And then come up with a topic of that. And then going back to what I said of simplifying it, how can you simplify it and break it down into steps? So if you can make it a multi-part series, make it a multi-part series. I think at the end of the day, what I have noticed is do some purposeful content where you've thought it out somewhat and you're solving a problem. And then there's the other part, which is then do personalized content that shows who you really are, shows what your passions are. One thing that drives me nuts, and I'm sure this will probably, maybe somebody's watching it and they're going to think is like, oh man, that's me. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to hate on it, but like I see this in real estate all the time. People will be like, hey, here's a picture of a donut. Want to buy, sell, or lease commercial real estate? I'm your person. I'm like,
people do that?
Yeah, they do it all the time. They're like posting like a picture that has nothing to do with the topic.
Just
like,
to grab attention. And
yeah, they're posting whatever. Like, hey, here's my aunt. Want to buy a house? Give me a call. And it's like, it doesn't flow. You know, you need to, if you're going to be personal, be personal. Hey, this is my grandmother. Like, I remember as a kid, I used to like eat whatever dish with her. That's fine. That's your personal moment. But then your business moments are your business moments, because people also, as part of this, you don't always have to educate. They also want to know who you are. Like, show them your life, show them, some of the best videos I have are actually, going back to one of your questions was, there was a video where my wife was bathing our dog. I knew my wife cannot control our dog, and I knew this was going to go south. So I was like recording it from inside.
I would kill you.
And my dog, she had tried to put him in like a little pen, like one of those little like kiddie pools. He escapes, like gets her all wet. Like my wife is like thrown on the floor. And like, this was just like a day in the life of Jonathan. I had everybody reaching out to me like, dude, that was hilarious.
That's so funny.
But you got engagement now. You got conversations with people, because they're not having conversations with, they're having conversations with Jonathan, the real estate guy.
Right. Well, and that's what they're going to remember, stuff like that, right? Because like this is like the real story. That's what people really remember when you help them, but then when you share that real stuff. So we are actually coming to the end of the show really, really quickly. We only have a few seconds left. So I want to thank you for being here. Is there anything else you want to wrap up with? Maybe tell people how they can reach you.
So I'm Jonathan Alfonso. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Misty, for having me.
Of course.
And if you want to reach us, the easiest way is to send me an email, jalfonso@titleanswers.com. But I also have a YouTube channel. It's pretty easy to find, Jonathan J. Alfonso. And thank you for having me. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody out
Yeah,
there.
happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We're grateful for you for being here. And like I said, we're just wrapping up. So again, thank you for being here today.
No, thank you for having me.
All right. Have a safe and happy holiday, everybody. Eat well, be well, all those things. And we will see you for the next Marketing Monday. Thanks again.